Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream yet again. Hope you guys are looking forward to progressing from where we left off last time, just earlier today, same day. I have about 2 hours-ish where I can get some more work done on the stuff. So, just to review, we are going to be working on this proposal: split class name responsibility into 2 keywords. We're not actually going to do it as 2 keywords though. It's just going to be whether you have a given annotation present or not. And in the implementation I'll be doing, I'm going to have the export keyword. So you can potentially export the top level class by using the export annotation on the class name keyword. So we will attempt to make that work. Which means there are a couple of different steps that will be involved here. Right, so just going to get rid of this. So first of all, we need to identify or like add Boolean tags for scripts in script server, so that you're able to identify that this is an exposed like global type or not. I think while we're at it, we could potentially add an abstract. Now I'll do that as a separate branch, separate PR. But another thing that we might do is try to add some sort of flag that something is abstract, that we can get that in there as well, ideally. Even if it's not relevant to instantiation and is purely for the editor context, it might still be useful. In which case, you could say, well, maybe the export allows you to have a parameter or something in that context. I don't know. So you could say like export false or something to indicate that it's, that it's visible in the editor but non-instantiable. I don't know. There are a couple different ways that could be done. But if I get the PR out there before the beta, then we can make amendments to the PR before the feature freeze is technically in place. All right, so add Boolean tags. Oh, let me make sure that I've got chat visible. I thought I had it visible already, but maybe not. I mean, visible to me, so I know what people are saying. Okay, there we go. Live chat. All right. Alrighty. So we need to add Boolean tags for the scripts in the script server. Add checking for @export tag at top of GDScript. Hello again, object. Add checking for export tag at top of GDScript. We'll also need a property. All right, so GDScript property to flag if it's, oh wait, no, you don't want that. You want add Boolean tags for scripts in script server, modify get global class name to set if it's, is exposed. Something like it is exported, we'll say is exported. If it's an exported type. We got stream open. I forgot stream open. What? Oh no, what did I do? Was there something I failed to do? Live streaming. I mean, it shows that everyone can see it. Okay. 2 to 3 hours. Oh, yeah. It was weird. No. So I don't know if it was the same stream, but like I turned the stream off in YouTube Studio, but forgot to stop the streaming of the broadcast in OBS. And then I guess somehow like OBS continuing to stream just like triggered a second stream in YouTube Studio. Like I don't know why it didn't just terminate remotely in OBS. But anyway, it was weird. And yeah, it was weird. And then I tried to, because last time I tried to cancel from OBS, and then YouTube Studio was like, "Oh, your stream is still going on," and I was like, "Wait, what?" When I like came back to the computer later. So I guess I just have to make sure I cancel it explicitly in both places. That's stupid, but I understand it at least because it's two different networked systems that are communicating with each other. Cam was updating, but your screen isn't. Oh wow, yeah, that is weird. Let's see. Okay, so Boolean tags, modify get global class name to set is exported. Yep. So that each language can state when a given script is exported or not. Add checking for the export tag at the top of GDScript, which would then probably update some sort of property or state in the GDScript file itself somehow. And then last step would be update create dialog and editor resource picker to not include global script classes that aren't exported, or to only include global script classes when they are exported. There we go. All right, so that's I think that should be everything that we're gonna do. Do I have this? I have water. Excellent. Alrighty. Going back to Studio. Okay. Sure. So number one, script server. That's going to be in script language inside the object section of the for folder for object script language. And we go to script language. That's right. Go to the declaration. There we go. I need to find as script error lookup result. That's not what I'm looking for. What? Oh no, script server. That's what I need. Script server. There we go. Global script class. Okay, and then this will be the flag of bool is exported, which will default to false. You need to set that? I don't know if you need to have that. I mean, it's going to be false anyway, so just leave it. So this @global annotation exposes the types without exposing the whole file. That's neat. No, so yes, the @global annotation idea is about any constants, enums, static methods, like all the things that are affiliated with the script and not instances of the script would, adding the @global annotation would flag that script file as something that, you're not supposed to define anything in this for an individual object, but you'd be able to take all the stuff that's declared in it and merge it into the global namespace of the GDScript language. So it'd just be about adding, constants and stuff to the GDScript language, at least for now. I don't think it's something that should be like merging content into other languages necessarily, at least not yet. The only thing I could see that potentially being used for in the future is defining like extension methods or something of that nature. So it's for the whole file. Yes, it would be like you would add an @global annotation at the top of the file, probably above class name or something like that. And then if you did that, it would kind of flag the top file to just be interpreted differently. So that's just for kind of creating global declarations. But that's not what we're doing first. First, we're doing the export thing so that you can differentiate between the different, whether something is defined with a given name and whether it's exported and visible in the editor. Something like autoload. Yeah, kind of. Although autoload implies that you can have instance data of some sort, like signal connections or the or just properties, right? Because it's an instance. And so this is not an autoload because it's not allowing you to do anything related to instance data. And that's just because there's been a kind of convention about not having static data with regard to the scripts. And I think it was like a memory management issue or something. Because I brought this up a long time ago, and I remember redevs replying that they were like, "Oh well, you can have static methods and the like, but we're not having any static data." I'm like, "Huh, okay. I don't exactly know why. Like they're specifically not doing that. Like it was something they considered, and they specifically did not do it for some reason. And if I recall correctly, it had to do with some kind of like infrastructural, like, oh, it's a memory thing or a performance thing, or something. There was a justification for why they weren't doing. Oh, I think it was that it wasn't thread safe. I think that's what they said, was that having. I think that's what they said, was that it wasn't thread safe to put static data on the scripts, something like that. And I'm like, okay. And that was the reason that they had decided not to do that. So if you want to have a singleton, you have to create an actual object instance rather than, having some kind of, script type of thing that's not an object instance. I don't know. It's weird. It's like technically scripts are objects too. They're object instances, and you can update a script at runtime, and it just changes the script, and it like rebuilds it. Like it's all technically not really, you know, actually static anyway. But I guess like as far as the editor is concerned, when it's like parsing scripts or figuring out stuff, like they rely on a lot of multi-threading, and so that could become a problem somehow. I don't know. But having static and or global data of some sort to allow for singletons or global variables or whatever can just be a separate proposal and thing for like a later version of Godot. I'm not as concerned about that. Okay, so is exported on the global script class. We then need get global class name. Let's see. Okay, add global class. This will need to have bool is exported. Yeah. And then is global class, get global class language, base, native base, class list. We'll need bool is global class exported. And then, yep, string name for the class. I don't know why they made these be strings. I really don't, because you're supposed to use, it's a string name. It's the name of the class. Why are you using a string? Anyway, that's probably another separate PR type of issue. String name. All right, and then add class. What's the? Oh, that's script language. Script language is going to also. I guess first, let's go to the declaration of these things, or the definition. Sorry. Remove global class. Is it gonna take me to the definition? Come on. Guess I have to go to the CPP file manually. It's weird. For object script language. Go to script server. Language. Okay. Hit enter. Add global class. All right, so we made the change here. Bool is exported. Oh, you need a p underscore. I forgot about that. Yeah, make sure we have the p or prefix on that. Yeah. And then g dot is exported is equal to is p exported. Oh, which reminds me, we will need to update serialization for script server data. Which, okay, no, that's just part of one, because that's what I'm going to be doing now anyway, right? I think, because you save it here, if I recall correctly. We also to make sure, yeah, we have the is class right here. Bool script server is global class exported const string name class. Let's do this again. Okay. What's here? An error? Oh, add global class, yeah. Or not c.has is exported. C is exported. Global script classes. So this is the serialization process. And should be a saving of the global classes as well. Add global class. Is global class exported? Global class list. Save global classes. Here we go. Is exported. Global classes. It's exported. It's not. Oh, because I didn't. Equals. Right? Global classes E. And then it saves it all to the project settings file. Okay, I think that was main stuff. This should all be set up. Oh, and this should be a const. Well, no, wait, it's static, right? So there's no stuff anyway. Yeah, there's no instance to flag as static as a constant or not. I think that's everything for script server. And then script language, we need to update the virtual method. Get global class name. There we go. Where we have bool pointer r underscore is exported equal to null pointer. Okay, so then that will invalidate all of the different scripting language implementations. And see if they wanted this to be, no, you know what, this shouldn't be just an is exported thing. This should be a flags thing. Because if we end up adding other things like, oh, it's abstract, oh, it's static, oh, it's like whatever. If you start adding various, pieces of information about these classes, we're just going to keep on having to add arguments and crap. I don't think that's a good idea. We should just have a flags thing that we can then update over time. It's probably better. I would think so anyway. Yeah. Say int r flags. Then up here, int, need to define enum, right? Max language. Is there? Yeah, I was like, there's an enum right there, but do we have another enum? Yeah, this kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of how you end up doing it, right? Yeah. So let's just have another enum for, what would this be? Well, probably be with the script, right? Or the struct. global script class. So this would be, if you, wait, do you need to say, I mean, you could just say constant, right? I don't know if I need to make this like an enum class or enum with just a specific name. Like, do I need to do that? How do they declare the property info stuff? Property hint, right? Enum property hint, so they give it a specific name. They don't use the class. They just give all the stuff, and then they have the suffix or the prefix in front of it all. That's how they do it. Okay. So I guess I'll take that approach. All right. So this is global script flag. Yes. Script underscore is exported. Or script export. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, export, and then you could do abstract, and then you could do whatever. And then here, you just have global script flag. And then you'd have that use further down is global class exported. You just have get global class flags. Global class flags, or flag, get global class flag. Something like that. And then the implementation of that will also be modified. Global class underscore, what did I say, is exported? No, I didn't, wait, where's my implementation of it? There we go. Yeah, this flag is global class flag. Global script flag. What did I do wrong here? Did the object one put it at the top level? That's the difference. There you go. Now it's visible. Should I do global script? I think I should specify global script export. Yeah. That's more clear. And this would be equal to 1. And then I guess you'd have global script none equals 0, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then anything you would put in, you just set a default value for the stuff. Yeah, okay. Let's see, what do we do? Global script flag, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I know I'm forgetting something. Here. Flags. Global script flag. Flag. How does property info define like property usage flags? I knew it. They call it flags plural. So that means that's flags. But it didn't do it on everything. Oh, I guess I didn't actually apply it properly. Lovely. Okay, whatever. Flags. S. There we go. Flags. Global script flags. Global script flags. script flags, add global class p flags, get global class flags. Yep. Okay. And then all the way down here. Here. Global class flags. Or global script flags. R flags. Yeah. Yes. Get global class name. Yes. Okay. Now go to CPP side of things. Flags. Flags plural. I need to make that modification. Flags. No, I did that already. Okay. I just totally didn't want to believe me that I had done that. Is global class flags. No, get global class flags. That's what it is. There we go. And then this is flags. Because this is not that, it's global script none. There we go. And then here, flags. And again, global script flags. Flags, wrong thing. Flags. Yeah, okay. Here, flags. Let's go to p flags. There we go. And again, here, flags. Flags. Did I miss something? Add, oh, this function takes in global script flags, which means when you're passing stuff into it, you need to cast it to an int, I think, right? First. It's a variant, right? So should I do dot operator int? Oh, come on. Dot operator int. Int. I thought for sure that was signed int. Whoops. Yeah. That not the right way to do it. You have to then cast it global script flags. That's probably it, right? Yeah. All right, making it extra specific. Alrighty. So now I should expect to see GDScript be broken. And Visual Script is fine. C# might be bad as well, or be fine as well, because I don't think those override the pure or the original implementation explicitly. So they won't really have any issues. It's only GDScript that does that for now anyway. So if we go to GDScript CPP and find get global class name, there we go. We'll need to add global script flags, pointer R flags. Yeah. And then go to the declaration. Get global class name and add it back in here. Oh, whoops, I made it a ampersand instead of a reference or a pointer. Asterisk. There we go. And then, yeah. And here, this is where we'd say, okay, if the class node has some thing are flags, then we do some extra logic for assigning certain values to it. Global script flags, global script none, and then our flags is equal to flags. And then in between, we can check things on the class node. So our icon path, check if class node. So we would need to update the class node so that it has some kind of property to record whether it's an exported class or not. See all these members. Where's the, here we go, yeah, icon path. We'll just add another one for pool. Global class exported equals false. So if you define that, then in here we can say if C global class exported, then flags or equals global script export. What? You're not, is that not an operator? I thought that was an operator. Oh wait, no, yeah. What? This operation on an enumerated type requires an applicable user-defined operator function. What? That, okay. Flags or no? Can you not just mutate it? Am I an idiot? Am I totally blanking on that? How do you? You can't just assign a new value to it? What? I feel like I'm forgetting some basic C++ stuff. I've been doing so much C#. Let's see. Yeah. Enum, C++, how do bitwise or assign. Okay, yeah. Operator. The correct way is to define bit operators for the enum. Oh, so you have to explicitly do that. What? Rest of the bit operators modify as needed if the enum range exceeds int range. What? Okay. Interesting. So I just don't do that then. You just have to process it differently. Yeah, so you just would assign the pointer to be specific values. Cool, exported is equal to this. All right, well, no, don't do that now, but like later on, you would check something like that. So for now, we just say if this, then this, right? Global script export. Otherwise, our flags equal to global script none. Gosh dang it. There we go. Yeah, that's the way you have to do it for now anyway. Okay. And then we have to make sure that this property gets set on the class node when it's parsing the file. That's in the parser. Whenever it sets the icon path is about the same time that we would want to do that. So let's find references to this icon path. Oh my gosh, what the? Sorry, give me a second. Give me 1 second. I have to. My wife, apparently. Well, that was quite interesting. My wife used the was it the little camera with a speaker on it? Essentially, it's like for watching Laredo, this dog in here, and she's just like, "Hello." I'm like, "Oh." Apparently, she was trying to text me or message me. So I'll make sure I'm actually paying attention then. In case anyone was wondering why I freaked out for a second. Alrighty. Um, no worries. Yeah. Icon path. Right. So when icon path gets set, references there are none. We're just not using this. Stream didn't get any of those sounds. Oh, really? Okay, because there was like, yeah, there was some sound in the background. I'm surprised you guys didn't hear that. I guess my OBS configuration for audio is working pretty well then. I hope you don't hear like the AC like window unit that's over here still running. I hope not. If you see like hear this whirring in the background, just let me know and I can turn it off. Let's see. Icon path. So it would have been in the GDScript parser CVP file. Some sounds are present. Oh, really? some sounds are present. I mean, if you hear anything off, probably noise canceling artifacts. Ah, okay, that would make sense. Yeah, I'm not exactly an audio specialist, so I just kind of went with default things that I read about. They're like, oh, you should do this. And I'm like, okay. um, so I need to see some kind of function, something that'll let me easily jump to CVP file, ideally. Come on. Nope, not gonna happen. All right, I guess I just gotta find it. Oh, okay. Similar sounds in other streams. So, like water sounds, but it's actually artifacts from noise canceling. Oh, I don't know if I like that. I'll have to figure out how to avoid that. I don't know. The icon path. So is there literally no? Okay, yeah, it does have a reference. Parser get tree icon path, and that will return the root node, I'm guessing. Yeah, icon path is empty. All right. So where does this get assigned to? Why isn't this showing up in find references? You would think it would show up, but it's not appearing anywhere. No, just icon path. Whoa, no, don't do that. On path is equal to. Okay. There's parser CPP about current class icon path is equal to previous dot literal. Annotation result arguments 0. Both of these? It's about 696. Parse class name. So seems like I would need to make sure there's a parse annotation. There should be a parse annotation for export, right? But I would need to trigger that above the class name bit. Or actually, it would be inside of this, I guess, parse class name. It depends on where this is called. Find all references. Okay, we get called at this point. Order here doesn't matter, but there should be only one for of each at most. Current token. Oh, this is the tokenizer? Yeah, tokenizer. Right, because you need the tokenizer to actually distinguish stuff. And we're going to need annotations as well. Yeah, if match annotation, then for. I haven't seen a for loop like that before. That's interesting. Technically works though, yeah. There should be only one of each at most. Switch current dot type. Class name extends. So because it can be in either order. Yeah, that makes sense. It can be in either order, but you have to have, at least one. And then they allow you to have annotations for parse annotation, script standalone class level. Check for tool, script level, or standalone annotation. If it's tool, don't allow tool anywhere else. Should all script annotation thing, question mark. Possibly. The way this is written, it would seem like you're expected to put, yeah, you have to put the annotations at the top for this kind of thing. In which case, I would just add another else if here. That's really what I would do. annotation apply this null point. We're gonna do something like this then. And then sname at export. Should all script annotations be the line? So here is tool, no, the global script, or no, was it flags? No, what did I call it? And this is not, what is this a property on? Where is this defined? Completion, no. That's not right. Underscore is tool, where is that from? Where does this come from? Why is it taking me here? That's not the right location. Where is tool defined? GDScript parser. So the parser has a property for underscore is tool. That'd be a little weird, but I mean, I guess I could understand it because it's a single parser for an entire file. But and if we're setting it up for you to have a single export setting for the entire parser, then that would make sense. I don't know. Where is that property defined? Underscore is tool. There we go. In private. I was just like way further down, I guess. Just didn't see it. Yeah, it's still inside GDScript parser class. So, oh, it was close, just further down. I don't know why the go to definition thing wasn't working quite right. But so is tool, we would just add another one for is exported class. Hi, Qubit. How it going? Yeah, it's going pretty well. And we're moving on to that second task I had from earlier, trying to add, segregate the different things. You're using BIM keybinds. Yep, that's right. Okay, so is, if I do the exported class, I'll just say is exported. Is exported. True. If you press asterisk under symbol, it should look for that. Oh, really? The definition? So I do asterisk. It doesn't take me away from the spot. Shift 8 on a symbol. No, it's not taking me to the definition. If I do F12 though, it takes me there. I mean, I have shortcuts that I've added to Visual Studio to do it, but I don't have those locally on my computer, so it's annoying. I have it on my work computer, but I don't have it on my home one. It's not definition. Oh. The go-to declaration. That's what I meant. Yeah. No, wait, no, go to definition. Yeah, I was hitting F12. Go to declaration would be where it's actually declared. Oh, if it's in the same buffer. Yeah. See, I actually set up shortcuts that use the, the Visual Studio database essentially to look up the symbols and stuff. I set it up to do, what's it? I did like GD, I think, to go to definition. Something like that. And like GP to peek at definition, and I think it was GR to find all references, did stuff like that. Anyway. Okay, so is exported is true if previous.type not equal to new line, expected new line after full annotation. Wait, did they really do that? Don't allow, wait, why did they do this? If previous dot equal to new line. Oh yeah, because you have to have a new line after tool. Yeah, that makes sense. You can't have like at tool and then immediately some other text. If that makes sense. You can't hear me on YouTube? What? What? Yeah, I was like, everyone else seems to be able to hear me. What? Freaking me out, man. No sound at all? That's weird. Maybe refresh the page or check your stuff. I mean, you have other sounds you can play on a different YouTube video, maybe? Just to confirm? I don't know, like a music video or something? Okay, and here we do after export annotation. Expected new line after class level export annotation. At export annotate class level export annotation has no specific target. Annotation apply this null pointer. Your stream cutting out though, maybe your connection is a little funky. Reopened app and that's work. Oh, that worked, okay. The stream is cutting out? I mean, I should have really nice connection speed at the moment. I like got a direct LAN and I was like 400 download speed and 60 upload or something, 70, I don't know. Not serious, not regularly. If it's the audio, I wonder if it's maybe that like default audio configuration I set up where when I'm mumbling, it ends up like going just below the threshold and it thinks it's noise and cuts it out. I could imagine it being something like that because I tend to mumble when I'm like as I'm programming. If I'm trying to talk while I'm doing that, yeah, I would mumble. Anyway. Same comment, we can't hear you after streaming for an hour might be a horror. Yeah, really. But it also like extremely confusing since other people had been like reacting as if I was talking to them. Like, oh, weird. Okay. A loading circle. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody else experiencing connectivity issues like that? Like, is my stream occasionally like, having trouble loading or something? That'd be good to know. And it's like, as far as I know, I shouldn't have any issues like that, but I even, I've got OBS configured to, prioritize smooth streaming over high quality or, something like that. Anyway. Okay, so annotation as export, set that up. So in theory, you should now be able to add the token for it. Else if annotation applies, script standalone, premature annotation. Interesting. Okay, weird. I don't know if I'd need to worry about this stuff. Like, do I need to configure this for like specific targets? I don't think so, but perfectly fine for you. It has IPS, I guess. ISP, yeah. All right, well, so if this is set up to allow it to be something that shows up in the tokenization and it's updating the state of the parser is exported, then in theory, this variable is something I'll want to be able to use, right? I'll set it, and have it be there, but I don't know if it's actually going to be referenced by anything because I'm already, well, wait, no, yeah, I need to get the class node to be set correctly, right? The class node has the property that needs to be set. Where was that? Didn't I have class node defined with a declaration here, global class exported? and I have to set this where the icon path was. Yeah, this needs to be something that is set on the class node. Is not what I'm doing here. Do I have access to the class node already? Head alloc node. Okay, so head. So I would set it on head. So I don't need the parser property. I would say head exported. Global class exported equals true. And then you don't need this. Right? Yeah. But in fact, like, should I really even do this? Like, what? I should just have global class flags, right? Yeah, I should just have global class flags. So I can just use that same thing for everything. Global script flags, global class flag, or global script flags is equal to global script none. Yeah. Global script flags. Oh, come on. Global script. There we go. And then global script export. Oh, wait, that's the reason, I bet. Because if you can't simply do bitwise operations to combine the stuff, then you would run into issues. They must do that for, no, I bet they don't, because you can't just apply the operation to the stuff. You always pass it in. Yeah, they always pass it in like that. I don't know. Not sure. Yeah. I feel like if I need to, I would just add the inline declarations to do operators with it. Can you explain, please, what you are working on currently? Yes. Yeah, it's in the stream description. If you have questions about it, feel free. Right now, we're just trying to make it so that you can add various details to the global script class declarations, so that you can flag like, oh, this is something that's exported to the editor, or that it's something that you could conceivably add, a flag for saying, hey, this is something that's an abstract type, right? So that you can't instantiate it, and it could be like grayed out in the create dialog, right? We're creating the basis for doing stuff like that. To start off, though, I'm just gonna make a export thing. I mean, I could also do the abstract thing, but we'll get to that if we have time. Let's see, head global script flags equals global script export. Okay, is export. So you don't need this then if the head is managing that data. And then because you have the data there, you can already access it. Global script flags when you do the GDScript language accessing the data, right? Wait, no. GDScript data would be gathering it on the GDScript object itself. So we need the GDScript resource to have the flags. We're going to have another one of these properties on the GDScript resource, I guess. That way, because ultimately we have to get to GDScript CPP, this thing, global script flags. Oh wait, so we already have the class node. Okay, so yeah, we're good. We're just directly accessing the class node here. So yeah, we can get this. In fact, and then because you've got the script flags already, you don't even need to do this. You can just say R. That makes it so much simpler and easier. You're setting the value equal to the script flags, so it's whatever has been defined, and you don't have to do anything. Yeah, that's the way to do it. All right. And then that takes care of that. So I think I should be able to go ahead and define it now, right? But I also know that they expose script language through GD extension somehow. I know that's a thing in some way. So there must be something related to GD extension that involves you specifying type information like that. Oh, but no, those are for built-in types. So they would all automatically be exported, quote unquote, or you would flag them with like can instance and whatnot that are things that the class DB cares about. So it already would be allowing you to specify whether something is visible in the editor or it's abstract or whatever. You can already configure all that. So and it's unrelated to scripts anyway. So I don't need to worry about that. Okay. All right. I think we might be able to get this working. We shall find out. But ideally, we can just pop in and make the modification to our script. And the tokenizer / parser should allow us to, like the tokenizer should properly identify the token for the export at the top of the file. The parser should correctly record the data about the global script flags. And then if everything is done correctly, the GDScript language should record that will copy that flags value in whenever it's getting the value. Oh, wait, no, but it won't work because the places where we call that code are probably not passing in any Boolean, which would be in the editor file system. So we need to cancel that. It's not done yet. We have to go to the editor file system so that the stuff that's actually scanning the files and calling the getGlobalClassName function will actually do it properly. Otherwise, if you're not passing in the Boolean, then you won't actually record that data with which to add to the script server stuff. Where is that going to be? Wish I could keep watching the stream, but it's already 5 o'clock and I'm going to bed. Do you plan to stream soon? I'll probably be streaming again tomorrow sometime, I would bet anyway. But I usually stream between like 1-ish and 5 o'clock Central Time. Central Time, like Texas, USA. So like right now it's 9:08 p.m. for me. So that would be like 8 hours previously from now is kind of when I would usually start-ish, 1 or 2 o'clock, and then I would go until 5, and then might break again, and then do another round for now. So it's all kind of basically your nighttime. Sorry. I mean, I could try to do an earlier stream if I'm up to it, but usually I'm kind of just waking up and taking care of chores and inhaling coffee in the mornings. So, editor stuff. So CPP files, editor file system, CPP. Get global class name. Here we go. Global script flags. Global script flags star R flags. And then back. flags is equal to flags. There we go. And then that'll affect the calling of that function everywhere. Class, script class. What? FS files. Files. This information. File info is going to have to define this stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Global script flags. Script class flags. That makes sense. So then, where else would we do this? FS files, then ampersand FS arrow files, cpost arrow script class flags. And that resolves it, yeah. Okay. Do it again here. Ampersand fi script class flags. Here. Ampersand fi arrow script class flags. And then here again, yeah. Script class flags. What is this about? Yes. Files subi script class flags. Okay. All right. I think that should do it. Is there anything else that would be setting that up? I don't think so. Wait. No, stop. There's also the file cache. File cache will need that data as well. Let's see, yeah, this thing. Resource script path, yeah, we'd have to add another thing here. Yes. Crap. it would update the file cache version again. Oh my word. Oh. Before they've even, because they haven't even merged the resource script path thing yet. So like technically it would just all be part of one. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you'd have to add it again. Crap. This is so ridiculous. Yeah, you'd have to update the version of the file cache another time. At least if his thing is merged and then mine is merged, I'll have to ask them how they want to handle that. Yeah, so basically there's a like actual version tracked file cache where anytime you make a change to the source code that would result in the file cache being serialized or deserialized differently, you're supposed to update a number in the source code that indicates the current ID of the file cache. That way, different versions of Godot don't try to, serialize and deserialize their file caches in a conflicting way, right? Because they handle it differently if the way they process it changes. And here I am trying to change like what data could be associated with script classes, which means you also have to update the file cache for each individual file because that's what you do with script class information. So I'm like, oh, great. But so my pull requests, one of mine anyway, the GDRes quick open thing where I'm allowing the quick load thing to see script classes, is dependent on a separate PR that also makes an adjustment to this thing. It adds this resource script path so that even if you've just saved a file that's a resource and it has a script attached to it, it's also keeping track of the path of what script is attached to it. So you know essentially what the type of the resource is without having to actually load the resource, which is like really important to do things like display icons in the file system doc, or essentially for you to determine type information about a resource file without loading the resource entirely. Because you can only do it like traditionally if you're loading the entire resource. And so instead, the editor file system, caches this information when it's saving the resource, or when it's, parsing the data about the resource to get the type information, and then it caches it so that the system doesn't have to look it up again. And that's what gets deserialized and stored into the script server as the editor file system is done scanning the files. And so, this PR that I'm dependent on is already updating the file cache once. And if I make another PR like on top of it, that's also updating it. So like there's going to be 2 increments of the file cache, or if they end up merging both PRs at the same time, or are they just going to ask me to like combine all the PRs together somehow so that we only increment the script cache once? I don't know. They might care, they might not. I was just thinking like I'm just going to do it and update it again, and if they tell me to change it, however they want, then I'll do that. I was just like, oh gosh, is all I was thinking. So it's not quite about Git versioning per se. It's just about the versioning of the application. I mean, like, sure, Git versioning ish. I mean, it's all about semantic versioning of the application. Sure, like if you release the next minor release or the next major release of Godot, then you're supposed to have some kind of increment of the file cache. But they also do it like during development, because the moment you change the file cache, anyone who's actively developing the bleeding edge build of the engine is also going to have to make sure that they don't have conflicting versions, right? Yeah, so before and after like Git reversions and whatnot, or like trying out a build versus switching to another branch, whatever. Yeah, so I think the file cache now is on like version 10 or 11 or something. It's much higher than the actual Godot version. So okay, yeah. So I will need to do FC. So file cache is going to need a property for this. Global script flags, global script class flags, and then here we'll say fc.script class flags equal to split sub 7 dot get slice, right? Same thing as everything else. Or, I mean, I would prefer it if I could have that be in the other slot, but based on how, what I'm built on top of at the moment, I don't really want to do that. Split sub 7. Oh, and that gets a string, which I would then need to do toInt on. Yeah. And then I need to cast it global script flags, like that. There we go. Then I have to make sure that that saves properly. Your PR is too bold too? Like it tries to do too much at once or something? I mean, that's kind of why I split it up into many different PRs, but core edits, yeah. I mean, to be honest, or to be fair, this PR is like 3 years in the making, basically. So, or are you talking about this PR? I don't know. I mean, yeah, in general, my PRs tend to be pretty low level because I'm trying to fundamentally change various details about the engine rather than just make small tweaks here and there, whatever. Like, I'm trying to actually change how the stuff works so that I can use the engine the way I'm wanting to. Okay, file cache. Where does this stuff get saved? Here. Editor, script class name extends. You're gonna have resource path, and then we're just gonna add another one of these. Yank, add again. Script flags. Changing how, yep, not implementing features, but changing how core functions work. Yeah. Yep. I just, I have, a vision for how I want this stuff to work, and I have a dream. I want my classes. Okay, where's? I feel like there might be something else I need to do. I mean, that's the saving and loading of the file system cache. Oh, I need to update the version. That's what it is. Where do they record that? Is it at the top? Yes, file system cache 9. After 4.1 or something, you can make your own version. My own version of what? Of Godot or something? What? I don't plan on doing that. No. I just want to build on top of the community stuff because I want to take advantage of the, community built things, the maintenance, the new features, the bug fixes. I don't want to be on my own stuff. Absolutely not. And it would be interesting to me anyway because I would specifically want to be adding, new aspects to Godot that other Godot users could then use, like on Godot, rather than them having to use a specific like alternative build of the engine that I made. Like, no, I just want to strengthen and improve Godot itself so that I can also use Godot. Yeah. Like the only other thing, there's like being able to bind a scene to a script, like having that be a thing that you can do. Like if I actually manage to have time to do that, that would be awesome. I don't know if I don't think I can. Like if I can finish everything else that is on my list, then that would be the next thing I want to try and tackle before feature freeze, but I don't think that'll happen. And then after that, the other thing I would want is some kind of some sort of class abstraction, because between the class DB and the script server and all the different scene files scattered throughout the file system, they're all technically class definitions of some sort, whether it's, in a declarative manner or an imperative manner, or, compiled in C++ code, or the runtime configuration of a class. They're all just things that describe class information and class structures, right? Node trees are really just essentially classes, right? The editor node is something that has a whole bunch of internal nodes inside of it, but it's still a class. It's an editor node, right? And you can have inheritance between scenes, and you can have all this stuff, right? So it's just a scene is basically just it's a visual constructor of a class. So it's not actually a class, but it is a constructor for a class. And technically, you can make a separate class declaration just be a constructor, a custom constructor around like some other class, right? You could conceivably do that. So it still really kind of feels like a constructor or like a class. So I want to make a nice little abstraction around, the native types and the scripts and the scenes that kind of just allows you to interpret them all as types and do things with them. And with the introduction of GD extensions, it's a bit more plausible to actually make something like that, which is what I'm excited about. I had like the class type script that I wrote. How would you use that though? So like, for example, like I want to export, how would I use that? So let's say I have a plugin and someone wants to, or I want someone to define a type that I would use for, like, say, a container or something, right? I have a plugin that, does automatic things. It creates instances of some class and, calls specific methods on that class, and it, inserts it into the scene tree in various ways and expects it to do various things, whatever, right? It doesn't matter exactly what it is, because it's kind of just open-ended. Like, you might create a plugin that does this, and you want the user to be able to customize what the functionality is, and you want them to be able to provide their own type for the operation. but they have no way of expressing in any convenient fashion, please let me just like go to the inspector and specify a type, right? That would be conceivably some sort of node that could be instantiated, right? You have to use a string so that you can specify types that are in the engine, right? And you could, and that would be like native types or global script class types, and maybe you could generate a little dropdown for that, or use the create dialog to let them select a type or something. So you could conceive of that in the inspector. But then like, okay, well, what about just a raw script that extends node and constructs a little tree and has the methods, and there's no global script class associated with it? You just want to provide a script. That would be a second property. And then if you want to have a scene, that'd be a different thing. And that scene would have to be something that extends node. And the root, type of that node would either have to be a type that supports all the operations you need, or it would have to have a script that would support all the operations you need. And how do you know it has the script? Like, what if it's just a derived scene that's extending some base scene that has the node with the script? Like, there's all sorts of complex, information specific to the different cases, and you'd have to have separate properties for all those situations. And you can't just say, please give me a type. Like, there's no abstraction of a type. So I want to have an object that's exportable that lets you do that. And then once you have that, you could also have, sounds like it's for advanced users. So yeah, so it's like, it's for people who want to create tools that enable other people who are developers on the project to do things. And that's what I want, like, because I want to create tools like add-ons and plugins that will supplement my ability to build the games that I want. And I want those tools to be things that I can maintain alongside other people and develop alongside other people. I don't want to just spend all my time building some tool for a game and waste a ton of time on that, only to then have to abandon most of that because someone else made something better with community-based tools. Like, I don't want to just be in my little isolated corner. You don't like the plugin API workflow? It's restricted. Yeah, well, yeah, the way that the plugins kind of work is not great, and I've complained about that a lot too. So, I mean, there were proposals at some point to really improve that, and I don't know if that's going to be a 4.1 thing or what exactly. Or I hope it's not a 5.0 thing, because I'd really like it to just be a big thing that gets added, because they were going to have like nested projects, and you could use like an inner project essentially as a plugin, and then you could you could just like turn on and off like the various projects inside of your project, and like you were just going to have projects that there would be a tree of projects, just like there were a tree of scenes and a tree of nodes. And I was like, okay, that would be a really big brain move if you went that direction, but your idea would improve it, right? Well, no. So that tree of projects idea was actually Redoes'. So that was not my idea. Kudos to him on that. But my thing was just having an abstraction for types, because I wanted to have that ability, and no one really understood my desire to have something like that when I was trying to describe it. I'm like, they don't understand. It's like, well, we've never had that problem. And I'm like, you've never been creating tools in this way that's community maintained. Like, what? If you abstract the types. What about if you abstract the types? What? It felt like there was more to that sentence. It would affect how the editor defines itself. No, so the only thing I would be doing is providing a quality of life, convenience API that's an optional thing you could use in place of the variety of options you have to do similar things already. So So it's more like you could if you added it to the core, then you would be able to simplify a lot of logic that's present in the core. But at the same time, the core doesn't really need it. So it probably shouldn't be in the core. This is more like you would add a class type to, say, the scene level, probably in the scene folder next to all the other nodes and resources. And then from that point forward, within core code, you would have to restrict yourself to just directly accessing script server and the class DB, and you don't really deal with packed scene in there anyway. But at the scene level and in the editor, you do, and in modules. So all of those spaces would be places where you could grab it, because it goes core and then scene, and then after that branches off into editor and modules. And so all of those things are kind of how they build on top of each other. And in some cases, modules can actually also build upon editor if you add in the right, flags. Making sure I'm building here, yeah. So, yeah, I would like to eventually see that happen, but that would probably be for a 4.1 release if I got to that. Yeah, that's the whole class type concept. Because if I should be able to give a file path to a script or a file path to a scene, or I could or a resource UID to either one of those two things, or you provide the name of a global script class or the name of a native type, or anything that's GD extended, right? All of those different scenarios could all potentially lead to a type, quote unquote, that's an instantiable thing. And also you could abstract away the differences between doing .new on something versus .instantiate for a scene. You could just have it all be .instantiate when it's wrapped in this class type thing. Okay. Editor has to be seen, probably no escape. Yeah, so it's engine runtime code mostly. Yeah, I mean when you get to the scene level, you would be able to refer to it, and that's a lot of engine content, right? And all the modules, that's engine content, right? It's just the editor is kind of the only other thing, so to speak, but it's the core is the only space where you wouldn't be able to use it. Yeah, engine runtime code mostly. I mean, actually, I would imagine that there could be a fair amount of use of this thing inside the editor if you actually used it in the editor. Not a whole lot, but there would be some, right? Things that deal with scripts or scenes or stuff like that. I was under the impression that we were getting that plugin system in 4.0. Sorry, I definitely missed some of this discussion. I have compiled some modules in C++ based on a GDScript prototype. Kind of waiting to go further until the dynamic loading was a bit more conceived. Is there a way to put a .o or something? Wait, what? No, yeah, that stuff is all done. Yeah, don't worry about that, Brian. So GD extension is the new replacement for GD native. So the plugin system, editor plugins or add-ons are a totally different thing than native, GD native and GD extension. So GD extension is any compiled dynamic library that is registered, but they changed it to where rather than having GD native be something that becomes a script, they made it even more low level where the GD extension stuff is actually registered in the class DB. So it shows up as a core native class in the engine rather than as a script that you put on an object, which is awesome. And it gives you all kinds of access to really low level stuff. You don't have to have a plugin script if you want to add a scripting language anymore. You can literally just use the script language interface that's in the core and actually build on that to define a scripting language. And it's just registered like any other script language using your compiled native code.
from your DLL. And it doesn't have a GDNative library resource anymore. They actually set it up so the editor will scan the file system, it'll just pick out a dynamic library and immediately register it and all of its classes and stuff. It's really cool. Built that based on GD extensions, you are good. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you'd have to make some adjustments because it's not, so the way it was told to me by, I think, Aaron Frankie, I'm pretty sure that was the user who mentioned this, if I remember on Twitter. He said that, so the GD native C API and the GD extension C API are significantly different. And so if you wrote your stuff in GD native C, then you'd have to do a huge refactoring for GD extension C API. But the GD native C++ API abstracts away a lot of the stuff and generates things, and a lot of that code would be simpler to port, where you're just like renaming some functions and adding a few lines here and there kind of thing, when trying to convert it to GD extension C++ bindings. So the generated bindings end up being pretty similar, but the one major difference is that GD extension, the syntax is designed around mimicking the engine's module C++ code, rather than replicating the same GD native API. As you kind of hint, yep, everything I use C extensions for are algorithm heavy, so the porting ain't to worry. Okay, as long as you did the C++ bindings and not the C like directly, then it should be really easy to port, according to Aaron Frankie, I think, if I remember correctly from Twitter. Yeah. Yeah, the plugin system we were talking about was this other proposal that Redos had made for a tree of projects that could be set up in the project. That was a replacement for add-ons and editor plugins and stuff, which would have been really cool. I think it was a replacement for add-ons, because right now add-ons and editor plugins are set up to be almost the same sort of thing, even though they're really totally different, which we really should get something bare minimum to resolve that confusion before the compatibility breakage is set. But like at the very least, you should be able to register an add-on, quote unquote, without it being an editor plugin, and then you should be able to like turn it on and off without it being an editor plugin, and then it can also be a plugin. So like that's really what it probably should be. But it really does just need like a vastly different approach, because yeah, it's just like, oh, you have to have this res add-ons folder, and then whatever subfolders are inside of that, just they exist, and they have to have the plugin file, plugin.cfg file in there, and then that's what makes it a plugin, and then that file can point to a certain script. I'm like, this does not really work well. Like, it should be that you just have some kind of, there should be a certain package or a certain file or directory or something where you could put the add-on / plugin anywhere in the thing and it would just work, and everything in that directory would just be identified as belonging to the thing, the add-on, whatever, and it would kind of be a black box as far as the rest of the stuff is concerned, right? The top level project. And then it'll just, then you can kind of toggle it on and off, similar to this kind of zip or PCK type of deal, where it was just like, do you load it or not load it, right? Or do you unload it, or whatever. And that was essentially what Redos had proposed, using Godot project files. So you could just create another Godot.project file, and it would kind of flag that directory and all of its subfolders are another Godot project. But then only the top level project is the actual project, and then inside of the stuff it's like just a separately maintained thing, and you can like choose to import that stuff or not. Should be able to direct load from Git repos, I think. Good way of doing it. Direct load from Git repo. I mean, I think that you would just have it, you know, copy the stuff to a certain subfolder wherever you decide, right? But then, or like you could put it somewhere else on your computer and then have it point to that, you know, potentially. Like you should just be able to have projects that can exist, and you could refer to them as sub projects through settings of some sort, and turn them on and off. So you can like register them so the project knows about them, and then choosing whether or not to import them at any time, or turn, you know, it's kind of like turning them on and off, and that would affect whether they're included in the processing of the thing. So you could treat them like an add-on. That would be a really cool idea. But yeah, like Git submodules are annoying. I don't like them. Load unload is just like the tree. Yeah, it was kind of silly when I ended up with a series of templates to set up a new add-on that just added nodes. Yeah, yeah. Composition is everything. Godot certainly embraces that. I mean, yeah, so technically, if you're making an add-on and it's not an editor plugin, then you could theoretically literally just make it a bunch of, you know, nodes and resources and scripts and whatnot, and you don't really need it to be an add-on, except if you want to be able to like toggle on and off like the add-on, you know, whatever. But then there's all sorts of like weird stuff where like some people need add-ons to be able to like I remember I had some feature I had added where you could you could toggle off the global script class scanning for specific, you know, add-ons where you know, if it's an add-on you can turn it off, and or sorry, if it's an editor plugin then you're able to turn it off because that's just how the UI works. And then if it's turned off, then it would allow you to not load the scripts in there as global script classes. So you could essentially just turn on and off the loading of all the stuff that's in that file as far as like importing it into the engine's types goes. So that way you don't end up having like name collisions between competing plugins or add-ons or something if they end up having the same type names defined, something of that nature. But then it didn't work out because other people started complaining like, oh, well, I need these types to be defined, or you know, these resources aren't being loaded just because this thing came in and I turned off the editor plugin and now these things aren't loading. And I'm like, oh gosh. And I think they just ended up like reverting the change that I had made. This was like 2 years ago or something. I don't know. Like how Vim plug works, or any package manager which contains also dependencies. Yeah, see, that's exactly the problem though, because if you look at the old issue or conversation about it, I don't even know if it's still easily accessible. They were basically just like package managers are evil, essentially. You know, it's not exactly like that, but you know, Rita's just had and other people had this opinion that they just didn't want the Godot community to devolve into dependency hell like Node.js had, and they were concerned about that, which I can understand. But it's like, so instead you're just going to make people manually deal with all these dependencies. Like, it becomes such a massive headache. I don't know what they want to do to resolve this stuff. So I don't. It's undecided. So so I had errors of some kind. What? Get global class name method override specifier did not derive any base class method. What? Script language extension. Oh yeah. So there was an extension method for GD extension. Okay. This is the thing that I did not realize was here. Global script flags pointer are flags. Get global class name, and then if our flags not equal to null pointer and ret dot has flags. What is this? Ret dictionary. Okay. I have to provide a default value for it. Null pointer. Okay. Oh, this is a script language implementation, isn't it? Isn't it? GDScript language extension. I bet you it is. They actually made a script language. Yes, it's a script language. Okay, that makes sense.
I did not realize that. So yes, this flags equal to flags dot operator signed int of global script flags. There we go. And then I'm guessing this also has to be saved somewhere. Ret GD virtual call. Ret get global class name. Or not. Oh, so they just have to return a dictionary that has all the stuff. Okay. That makes sense. That should be it, right? I think so. Pretty sure. Okay. What is this? Plus 100 on the risk of going NPM. Yeah. So it stops the community grow. I have to assume there's been a debate over time. There's no import, so that makes namespacing difficult. Yeah. And I've when we were initially setting up the global script class stuff, I think VNen had mentioned the possibility of doing like namespace stuff, and I had been like bringing it up, like, yeah, let's add namespaces or packages or something to GDScript so that you can not worry about this stuff. And Rita's was like, no, we're not going to do that. It increases the complexity too much. And which I can understand, because he was saying like, oh, just you keep it like C and you just let people add prefixes to the stuff in order to say that the type is associated with a certain package or a certain library or whatever. And we're just not going to do namespacing. And it does keep it simple for sure, right? Because it's all just one giant hash map of names that you compare to, right? So it's very easy to just look stuff up. And there's, and you have to make minimal changes to the engine doing it that way, like very few changes. Whereas if you introduce packages and namespaces to the like interlanguage script system, you'd be vastly increasing the complexity of managing the stuff. So I can understand his sentiment of going that route, but it does make for more problematic things when you're trying to import data from different. If the open source community of creating stuff in the asset library or an asset store grows, people are going to start trying to pull in stuff from other users that are offering up assets, and it's going to become really difficult for people to resolve all that stuff. And I think once it becomes more of a major problem and they've been able to better identify exactly what needs to be resolved, once they have a clearer image of that, I think that's probably when Redoes or and other people are going to be able to better identify what the best solution is. Not just what a solution could be, but what the best solution for Godot is. Because they've been very good at doing that reliably and consistently so far. Even at times where I didn't really understand like their reticence to doing things a certain way, or I was like, why are they doing this? It's usually for a very good architectural reason. And so now I just kind of generally trust it. Even though I still at the same time am like, why didn't they think of this stuff earlier? This is going to be a problem, like, hello? But it's just kind of, that's how it goes. So I've just seen every interpreter I've implemented has worked that way. The namespaced ones did not get as far. Yep. Right, like if we had similar scale to the UE store, there would be a weird gold rush for height map. Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. I mean, what you would end up with is just lots of different height maps. There'd be a Xylan's height map and something else height map, and people would be creating brand names for their implementation of a height map, kind of similar to like Godex for ECS and Dialogic for a dialogue system, right? They'd all have their own specific brand names for their plugins, their add-ons and stuff. Yeah, that's how it would end up going down. Except that rather than just having one implementation, you'd have like
2 doesn't. Right, yeah, it's a lot easier if you could just add a name in front of it, but because they all have to be an actual identifier with a global key, yeah, the way it works now is totally different. Or of course, yeah, like if you were doing if you're doing scripts, right, you have to do that. But if you're doing add-ons and editor plugins and stuff like that, they don't even have stuff like that, right? It's just your essentially your like you have your Git repo, and then that corresponds to like your unique ID for it because you have a URL. The URL is your, so they have an ID number in the asset library, but the thing that like really points to it is the URL for the asset, and then what is it? And then as far as the file system is concerned, like you just have a name, quote unquote, for your add-on that's really like your subdirectory underneath the add-ons folder, more or less. And you can override like what the title of it is, but that's like your key for identifying your plugin is just whatever you end up putting in as the name of your subfolder under the res add-ons folder. And that's how they identify it. I'm like, what? So like if someone else, I think they generate that name based on how you set it up in your Git repository by default. So if you just like download someone's project and someone else just so happens to have named their folder the same way in their Git repo, even if they're different add-ons, they would end up like trying to overwrite each other's files because they just so happen to have the same name of subfolder underneath the res add-ons folder. That is like where they put all their content for their add-on. Like it's not really designed for like putting together stuff very well, but all right, okay, so we're running. All right. Cannot use simple export annotation because the type of initialized can be inferred. Could not find. Wow, so I really mucked up the parsing apparently. Cannot find base class terrain. Cannot use simple export annotation because the type of the initialized value can't be inferred. I'm betting something else is looking for the export and is finding it in the wrong place because it finds an export and then tries to find what's after it, and it's like not what it's expecting. Except I haven't added export to anything yet. Okay, I'm doing something's fishy here. So let's go to terrain. So what happens if I want to clear out the errors? If I do that, parse does that safely. Okay, save does that safely. If I click out and click back in, no messages. Okay. Do I? It's the demo. Yeah, inspector resources project.godot is class exported. All right, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So now it is saving that information. Oh, whoops. I need to change that. It's not is exported. It should be flags. Anyway, so then is exported. I mean, either way, I'm saving the integer, right? It wouldn't really matter. I'm saving the data. So it would just be an integer instead of a Boolean, but it's still going to be 0, 1, or whatever. Okay, so now, in theory, I can go to my demo project, go to terrain, right? So that's here. Okay, and if I say at export, okay, got an error, export annotations. All right, so it did come in here. I do not want that to be happening. So how did we get here? Parse, program, parse. Whoops, knocked my water over. Let's not do that. Over there, I guess.
before completion. Fine. Organizer scan. Current type, end of file, parse program. Okay. So then you got to parse program. And this is where we were. Okay, so they got to line 561, apply. So they did get to this correctly, all right. And then they called apply annotation node, return this valid annotations name dot apply this p target. Okay. Wait, what is this doing? There's a function apply that is being called. Is that right? Valid annotations subname, so it returns the annotation node, I assume, and then calls the apply function. No, wait, it gets a pointer. You dereference the pointer, and then you call that pointer, so it is a function, on p this, which is the GDScript parser. So you're calling the parser function on the annotation node, or no, you're calling it on the parser, and you're passing in the annotation node and the target, whatever the function pointer is that's here, which is supposed to return these and a bool, or return the bool and take in these two. Okay. Okay. Apply function pointer from valid annotations. Where's that set up? Isn't that a declarative thing that they set up? Apply. Okay, so where did we end up? Right, apply, and then here, export annotations. Annotation node and node. These are all of the export annotations. Okay. So this is where they tried to do it. If it's not equal to a variable, then false. Annotation can only be applied to variables, which is the thing. But why do we get an exception thrown rather than just throwing an error? Oh, because we passed null for the node. That's why. Yeah. Because we don't have the class node yet. Or do we? I mean, I should have passed it in if I had it, I guess. Right? I would think anyway. Do we have? Yeah, we did. The head. So I could have passed head in here and then evaluated it. Yeah. And if I want to use the add export keyword, then I have to do it that way. That's fine. So we need to pass in head here. Yeah. Script standalone. Annotation applies to, which means I probably need to modify the applies to for that as well, right? Export annotation, I guess. Where's that? No? Crap, okay. Applies to, am I gonna be able to find this? Annotation node applies to info target kind ampersand. Yeah, so target kinds info target kind is on the annotation node. Where's the annotation node set up where you're setting the target kind on it for exports? Maybe where that applies. I have to find the functions where I was. Export annotation. Oh, whoops. Come on. There we go. Annotation. Export annotation. This is just a method on the GDScript parser. So I need to find the annotation node and change that. This is also enode type not equal to node. What class? Or oh, I guess it would be like class name, right? Something like that. Class name. No, class, the class level thing, because you can't do it on a. It has to be the top level. So, grr. How to do this? Seems like you have to apply the annotation differently, because you can't rely on this method because it's engineered around handling, all the variable stuff, and you don't really want to conflict with that. So I think I have to change how this is being handled, probably. Export annotations. Yeah, I feel like I would want to have a dedicated method for handling this. That's just for the top level one. That would make sense, but then I would need to have a way for just distinguishing that. So you'd have to have export annotations must be assigned to something, right? Something where you have this is being used somewhere, right? Register annotation, here we go. P apply, that's where they're passing it, the pointer for the function. Oh crap. No. Yeah, this is where they configure it, but you have to set it up here to handle all the different types. Yeah. So you'd have to make a modification to the export keyword here so that it's able to refer to stuff. That's not the variable. Yeah, something like annotation info script, like that. And then you'd have to manually check that you're not like a sub-level script. Like you'd have to be the top level one. But pnode type not equal to node variable, and wait, so pnode type is not equal to node variable, and yeah, pnode type not equal to node script. Oh, they have a specific thing for subscript. Okay, that's good. Wait, is that the wrong thing? What's the annotation info? Right, that's what they're comparing against. Oh wait, pnode type node variable. Oh, node. You say class? Yeah, class. It's because it's the class node, right? Like and not node is class. Well, no, I think yeah, you can just use class for that. Can you see that if you dropped frames right now? Just wondering. Yes, I did see that because I can see my feed on the right here, and I did see a little thing about that. So that, yeah, apparently that did drop frames for a few seconds. Yep. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, as such viewers will experience buffering. Yeah, so why is that happening? Flash of a little warning occasionally on my stream feedback. And it's been happening occasionally, so I guess that is my fault. Yeah. Hello? Test, test. Yeah, it just keeps on like doing that over and over. That's weird. Sorry, guys. I don't know why though, because my, network connection should be totally fine. Alrighty. Export flow. Okay, so if the type of the node that is provided is not equal to variable and the type is not equal to class, then you trigger this stuff. Get your insight and hang out, but yeah, experiencing some disconnection. Yeah, sorry. It really sucks. I don't know why that's happening. See, annotations can only be applied to variables or the top level class. Annotation name. Okay. And then if the node type is equal to node class, right? If that is the case, then we have to check that it's the top level one. How do you specify that? Right? Because node subscript is another one, right? Subscript. So where do they use subscript? Just want to make sure. It should be for an inner class, I would think. So in theory, reduce subscript. Yeah. Assess assignment. If callee type. Identifier, subscript node. Do a cast of some sort, set data type, call type. Mark node unsafe. Interesting. Okay. What is this stuff? Subscript is attribute. Maybe static built-in method call. Wait, what? This is in GDScript compiler. Oh, okay. So it's like figuring out what functions to call on stuff. All right. Yeah, it's a little beyond my experience with GDScript to be inspecting a lot of this stuff, but indexing operator. GD type from data type. Subscript get data type, parse expression. That's also GD compiler editor. GDScript editor subscript is constant. Data type kind, data type enum. What? Wait, what are they evaluating here? R parameter node, default value type. I don't really know what this subscript is supposed to be. Oh, I think it's supposed to be like an array index doing sub I, vector sub I, that kind of thing. I think that's what it's a reference to, maybe? Identifier call array, dictionary subscript. I think that's what it is. Okay. Parser. So we don't want to do that. I think class is just supposed to, or it's just supposed to be an actual class node, which is representative of some GDScript type. Because they use script as the data type for things that aren't a GDScript, and they use class as the type for things that are GDScript when it comes to the GDScript parser data type class. Literally GDScript parser data type. They've got all these variations of the data type. They have script, which is like any other script, and then class for GDScript types. So if I have a feeling that the node, class node is representative of things that are GDScript classes, in which case p node as a class node, right? So I should be able to say that it's should be able to do this, but for class node. Variable with class, and then class static cast. All right, right. And they don't have to do a dynamic cast because they're checking the enum. Oh, which here, yeah. So this would then you'd have to do like an else or something, or I'd have to make sure that I return at some point in here, like return true or false or something like that. Right? Return false, false. Where's return true? Yeah. So I'll have to add a return true in here so that it doesn't process the rest of the stuff. Yeah. And then I need to make sure within here that you don't use it on a sub one. So class, how do you determine whether you're the top level class or not? Is there like a parent property maybe, or function member identifier? Members next outer data type. Oh, come on. Really? No. Do I have access to head? Is that a property? If class equal to head or is not equal to head, that should be, it's just an error that you're not allowed to do that. If, I'll just say class node. If class node is not equal to head, then you return false in format. Annotation can only be applied. Let's see. Applied on classes can only be applied to the top level class. Annotation name, yes, there we go. To apply to variables or the top level class. And then here, export annotation applied on classes can only be applied to the top level class. Yeah. Applied to a class can only be applied to the top level class. Okay, I think that's a decent clarification. All right. And then moving forward from here, you would actually handle the case of being applied, right? Which this is where you would say, hey, ideally you'd be able to say class node global script class flags, yeah, is equal to. Yeah. But we already handled that, right, in the other section. I mean, I guess I'll put it here. Global export or script, yeah, script global. Is that what I did? Or global script? No, global script export. And then I think I used this in the other section of the code actually. So where I had that other thing. Yeah, this loop. And I set it here. Expected new line, and then you apply. It does have a target, the head, and then inside the head you actually set it. I think that's probably a better way of handling this. Yeah. Okay. 10:15. Oh, okay. Oh, 10:15. I need to get going. Sorry, guys. I have company coming at 10:30, so I have 15 minutes to prep. So, but this is looking pretty good. I'll see if I can at least get it build, get it to build and
you know, actually have a working version of it. That would be nice if I could at least do that before I have to cut out. Because if I can get it to update the project.godot file properly, then I'll be able to confirm that, making the adjustment to the tokenizer and the parser and everything actually gets it updated on the script class serialization, which then will deserialize properly into the script server when the editor file system is scanning stuff. And if that happens, then I know that I'll be able to use it in create dialog and whatnot to, toggle what stuff is actually being exposed to the editor. So basically, if I can just get it to show up, show the change in the project.godot file, then that'll kind of clear the way for everything else to happen. I guess I'll take out the breakpoint so it doesn't stop everything. I'm glad I looked at the time because I did not even, was not paying attention at all. Okay, well, yep, we got a lot of errors here. Expected new line after a standalone annotation. Lovely. Lots of things like that, all right. Yeah, it's just giving me errors now. So what happens if I add the thing at export? New line after standalone annotation. Okay, well, too bad, so sad. Alrighty, well, I'll have to resume on this tomorrow. See you guys all later. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Yes.